I don't see, thank you. Okay, I don't see Doug on too, so Stephanie's our only alternate. All right. Calling to order the Town of Ashford Planning and Zoning Commission. If I sound terrible, it's sorry because I have a spring cold. Best I felt all day, so we'll keep going. Uh, Planning and Zoning Commission, its regular scheduled meeting for April 13th at 7:04. Uh, Let me just check on one thing. Caspian, are you on, Caspian?
I don't see him, Jeff.
Okay. All right. We are in the process of hiring a recording secretary. So the last couple of times Bonnie has in the land use office has with summary and such been able to put things together. So I had invited him, but he said he had a couple of potential um conflicts. So if he's not on now, we will get him on next time to give him a try. That will be his tryout. So again, call to order. Seating of alternates. We will seat Stephanie West for Jerry Dufresne, and all other members are here. That gives us a full complement of what we have of eight commissioners for tonight. So, first item of business is the approval of minutes from March 9th, 2026.
This is Janet Bellamy. I'll move that we approve them.
We'll move to approve. Thank you, Janet. Is there a second?
So
Oh,
Michael Pepper, I
second.
can second.
Oh, sorry.
Michael Peppin got it in the second. Okay. Discussion. Any changes, corrections, updates, anything through those minutes for March 9th? Hearing none at this point, I move for uh, all those in favor of accepting the minutes of March 9th, 2026 for Ashford Planning and Zoning, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Abstentions?
Yeah, Jeff, this is Tom Hastings. I was not at the last meeting.
Thank you, Tom. You could have just said Tom. I would have known who it was, but thanks. But thank you for doing that for Caspian. He's the one going through this. So okay, very good. So it becomes unanimous at 7-0 to 1. Okay. Moving on. Public comment. Again, we are open for public comment. Limited to topics or items not otherwise listed on the agenda because we do have hearings scheduled. Uh, Please put up your electronic hand, use your voice to get my attention. Uh, I would also ask that you identify yourself so we can capture it for the recording secretary, whoever that might be.
Jeff,
Uh,
before you go forward, I just want to let you know that I just let Doug Jenny in.
oh, okay, Doug. Great. Thank you. Welcome, Doug. Okay, first up, I have MV. Please state your name and your comment.
All right, here we go. Sorry,
No
having
problem.
some having some computer trouble as well. My name is Margaret Varga. Um, I'd just like to say that last week at the public hearing, the lack of town business and its direct impact on our taxes was expressed by multiple people. This business proposition needs to be supported. We need to provide businesses here in town. If you don't like business, then you must be prepared to shoulder the tax burden or do without services and programs that our neighboring towns have. It both ways. You cannot expect to have specialized educational or recreational or other programs or superior special or emergency services and not expect to pay additional taxes. If there is no business, then there will be no tax base. This area historically was a gas station, and the new use is similar enough to be supported. If you are new to town, educate yourself about the history of the town and the businesses that existed long ago. And quite frankly, this business proposal is better tax-wise than an empty lot. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Varga. Okay, that one was a little bit on the line because it did mention about what we're talking about for the hearing. So again, if your discussion or your comment you wish to make is something regarding what's on the agenda for the hearing, please save it for that, for the public comment period. Otherwise, if anyone has anything regarding planning and zoning for Ashford that they wish to comment on, we're
I do.
open.
I do. I don't know how to.
You go right ahead. What's your name?
It's Ruth Cutler.
Hello, Ruth.
Yeah, my comment is now that COVID is over, is it possible we can have meetings in the town hall? Because I have a relatively small screen. It's difficult to look at what's being displayed and sometimes hard to hear. It seems to me we should have an option of both Zoom and being in the town hall. As I'm sure there are other people who have limited computer capacity who would like to be able to at least sit in planning and zoning meetings.
Are you all set, Ruth?
That's it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you on that. I can say that the consideration goes on monthly about that. There has been a new uh, instrumentation, new technology put into the town hall. It's a bit, it's a training that we would have to go through. So it would be a few months away before we actually did that. Maybe with the new fiscal year, we'll be able to start doing some hybrid meetings where we're able to handle both the volume of people who might dial in as well as those that wish to attend in public. But it is something we'll be considering.
Well, I just think it cuts out part of the population who don't have as good a computer capacity.
Thank you. Okay. Dory, do you have your hand up?
I'm sorry, I did not intend to.
Oh,
Do
that's
I have it
okay.
up?
Oh no, it's my cursor. It's my cursor
Oh,
turns into a hand when it's up.
okay.
Okay.
Thank you though for
Sorry.
asking.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Okay, seeing no hands or no one reaching out for my attention, we will move on. Thank you for the comments, Ms. Varga, Ms. Cutler. Bills, no bills, Mike? I see none. I've seen none.
No new bills. Nope.
No new bills. Thank you. Uh, no correspondence received, nothing to read into the record or share at this point. So that would move us into the public hearing section of our agenda. The public hearing itself, read into the record, will be for PZ-26-1, special permit and site plan application per 300-18C 6 and 7 for a motor vehicle dealership and repair shop at 221 Pompey Hollow Road. Owner Bora 2020 LLC. Speaking for the applicant is Dory Reiser. Um, and let me just go through a quick procedure for what we'll be doing with the public hearing. The process will be that we will start with an opening statement or a presentation from the applicant. We'll then have questions by the commission to the applicant. Public comments will follow. Public comments are limited to 2 minutes per person. Uh, you may speak again. You may speak again if all other comments have been exhausted and we have time to go around again. And questions are to be addressed to the commission, not directly to the applicant. Most importantly, directly to the chair, first and foremost. The commission will then be allowed a second opportunity for questions of the applicant, and then we'll ask for a final statement by the applicant. And at that point, we'll look for a motion to vote to close or a motion to vote and continue the hearing. So at that point, I think we have a couple of people speaking for the applicant. Should I start with you, Dory,
Yes,
or
please.
Daniel? Okay,
Yes, thank
very
you.
good. We'll start with Ms. Reiser.
Okay, thank you. For the record, Attorney Dory Reiser from Kahan Kerensky and Capicella representing the applicant in tonight's application. We also have Daniel Blanchett online who will be, oh, he is our engineer and he'll be doing a bulk of the presentation as well. We also have the owner and the owner's representative, Hassan Karuka, who's available as well to answer any operational questions if they come up. But just before we jump right in, this is a reapplication for a special permit. It's a special permit for a used car dealership and a service garage at 221 Pompey Hollow Road. You did address this and act on this application in September of last year. There were some concerns and questions raised. I don't believe that the applicant had the benefit of counsel or an engineer at that hearing. That application was denied, and I've been working with the applicant since. We do have a pending appeal of that denial, but we are hopeful that this reapplication with the additional information that we're providing and the additional detail will satisfy those concerns and resolve the appeal. So with that, a couple other procedural items to note. You do have evidence, I believe, in the record that the notices were sent to abutters. It was also sent to Wyndham Waterworks, and the sign was posted on the property. And you may recall, but just to get it on the record, this property, which you're probably all familiar with, it's a fairly visible property right at the intersection of 74 and 44. This property is in your general commercial zone. It's just over a third of an acre. There are two existing curb cuts there along the road, and there's a vacant building and a paved site, although the pavement's in fairly poor condition. As it was noted, I think by one of the prior speakers during public comment, there used to be a gas station and a service station here, and it's been closed for a number of decades, I believe. It's been vacant and fairly derelict since then. This site is located on the east side of Dollar General. So there are a butter to the west, and it's located on the west side of a liquor store and I believe a small cafe that's in there. So they're up the road on our east. It's across the street, as you know, from a gas station and convenience store. Again, the historical use of this property was a gas station. This is a slightly different use, being a used car dealership. The service station component is fairly similar. I believe there was a two-bay garage there for minor services in the past. That's a pretty similar use to what was there before, but the used car dealership is the new component. With that, I think I'm going to introduce David, have him tell you a little bit about himself, and then he is going to take you through the existing conditions and the proposed site plan. I'll come then back on once he's done that. And as he's speaking, if I have something to add, I might just kind of chirp in a little bit, but I'm going to try and not interrupt. Thank you.
All right, good evening, everyone. For the record, I'm Daniel Blanchett. I'm the owner of J&D Site Designs, formerly J&D Civil Engineers. We're located in Thompson. I am a licensed civil engineer and land surveyor, and I'm here tonight on behalf of the applicant to seek your approval to operate a used car dealership. It's really just a change in use. There's minimal construction proposed. As Dory indicated, again, she kind of got you familiar with the location of the site. It has been vacant for many years. You know, I grew up in Thompson in the late 80s. As far as I can remember, it's always been kind of a rundown vacant site. So just to kind of introduce everyone to the general conditions of the site, it's about 14,000 square feet in area. There's no wetlands nearby. However, it is located in an NDDB area, Natural Diversity Database, and we've submitted the relevant application to DEEP. We got an approval letter, which was dated February 26th. I'll also mention that the site is served by public water, although it has a private septic system. The Department of Health reviewed the proposed use and approved the septic system. That letter was dated September 8th of 2025 and should be part of the record. Again, as Dory indicated, most of the site was paved. Again, it's hard to tell now looking at the site, but we have some surveys from the late 80s that indicate there was pavement pretty much all the way to the rear of the building. I've estimated that previously the site was about 60% impervious area. What we're currently proposing is 63% impervious. And so it's really a very slight increase. We have a little bit more pavement extending to the south. We have less pavement extending to the west towards Dollar General. I'll also mention right now the site has 2 existing exterior lampposts, which we're proposing to reuse. There's no new lighting proposed. We are proposing parking for 23 spaces for inventory, as well as 4 spaces for clients, including 1 handicap space on the front of the building. I'm going to jump to kind of a discussion of the drainage. I know stormwater and drainage is always a big concern with projects like this. At the moment, there's no drainage to speak of. It's all impervious. It all drains to the south and west, either towards the Dollar General property or towards the liquor store and cafe, which kind of wraps around and back of the site. What we're proposing will be a big increase. We're proposing an infiltration basin on the west side of the property. And so most of the impervious area will drain into that basin, which will provide water treatment to improve the water quality. And also, of course, attenuation and infiltration to reduce runoff volumes.
Excuse me, Daniel. I'm sorry.
Of course.
And I'm sorry, I introduced you as David.
Please.
I've only been corresponding with you all day. I don't know why.
It's my middle name, actually. It works.
Oh, okay. You said there will be a large increase when you were talking about this. Did you mean a large improvement with regards to drainage?
I did. I apologize.
We clarify the record on that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
No large increase in drainage, but a large improvement. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Dory. Yes, that's correct. There will be a big improvement in the drainage, the stormwater quality and quantity. Now, so this project, again, it's a redevelopment project. And at the moment, the impervious area is greater than 40%. So looking at the stormwater quality manual for Connecticut, effectively, we have to do basically 50% of the typical requirements, because the state understands that, again, with redevelopment projects, due to size constraints, it can be challenging to meet the latest regulations. And the state understands that, again, almost anything would be an improvement. For small projects like this, they're mostly impervious already. So I see we have the site plan pulled up. That's terrific. So you see kind of the building in the center right-hand side. Most of the inventory is kind of on the left-hand side. And then in the far left side near the property line is where we have the infiltration basin. Now, I've designed the basin to be 80 feet long and 80 feet wide. The surface will be decorated with 6 inches of crushed stone. And then underneath, there will be another trench of crushed stone 2 feet wide and 2 feet deep. I have done some water quality volume calculations, which again are entered into the record, and we are exceeding their requirements for water quality volume. And just in case, just so the commission's familiar, water quality volume is based on the first flush principle. The idea is that the first 1.3 inches of rain will collect most of the pollutants, the sand, the salt, oil, etc., and wash that off. And so typically we're required to capture the first 1.3 inches of rainfall. Again, as a redevelopment project, we only have to do 50% of that, and the basin I have designed does exceed that requirement. And so that'll be a big improvement, again, both for runoff quality and quantity. Again, right now, everything just kind of sheet flows to the south and the west. Once water exits the basin, during large storm events, we do have an apron on the south side of the basin, a crushed stone apron. And so during large storm events, it's intended that the basin will overflow, but then to reduce water velocity and prevent erosion, we have a riprap apron, again, to kind of slow the runoff and prevent erosion onto the neighboring properties. Ultimately, runoff from the site goes about 1,200 feet towards the south, and then it enters Knowlton Brook. The majority of that area is undisturbed woods, again, which provides further treatment, and I don't anticipate erosion being a big deal as it heads towards the brook. I'll also mention, the site is small. Our options for drainage are kind of limited. And so I really feel that my proposed design is really the best alternative, again, to both provide my client with more space for inventory, but also to provide the necessary stormwater management. Real quick, I'll touch on vehicles. Using my software, I have determined that trailers carrying inventory can easily enter and exit the site. In speaking with the applicant, I understand most of the used cars are driven to the site. Occasionally, some cars will be dropped off by trailer. I don't anticipate any issues having them enter or exit the site. There is an island kind of in the middle, but the actual entrances are quite wide. Typically an entrance might be around 24 feet wide. And at this point, the entrances and exits are almost double that, which makes the turning movements a lot easier. In terms of traffic volumes, looking at the ITE manual, I've estimated that really the number of trips for a property like this is 10 to 15 trips per day. It's very minimal compared to looking at the gas station across the street that has 500 or 1,000 trips per day. And so there's going to be no noticeable increase in traffic off Route 44, Route 74. Again, there's just not that many clients that come on a day-to-day basis to this car dealership. We have not submitted any reviews or plans to DOT. At this time, the only work proposed within the state right-of-way is to replace existing pavement. There's no real modifications proposed, and so typically, although an encroachment permit will be required for that pavement, there's not much for the DOT engineers to review. I'm trying to see, what else do I have? So just in conclusion, I'll turn it back over to Dory, but I do believe that the application meets all relevant regulations. And I think it's a great project. Again, this has been a vacant property for many years, and this will be a big improvement. I'll turn it back over to Dory. Afterwards, I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Daniel. The other item I will touch on is the renderings. I know we had some conversation to make sure that everyone had access to those before we opened the public hearing. We did submit those for the record. Mike, would you be able to pull those up by any chance? Or if not,
Yep.
Okay. So you're probably all familiar with the site right now. I mean, it's a concrete building. It doesn't look great. The pavement's all cracked around it. It's an existing building. We are not proposing to demolish it. We're not proposing to build a new building. And as you can see, we're proposing to give it a facelift. The garage doors and the front door will be replaced. The windows have already been replaced. And there will be new signage posted above the door. And the property is proposed to be sited similar to the Dollar General, and also to the plaza to the east. So you can see what it looks like here. It's again, it's an existing building. We're working with what we've got. And we do think that this is an improvement over existing conditions, and it's giving it a bit of a facelift, and much needed. If you want to that's probably the only one you need to see there. The other ones are just different versions of it. We could paint it if you would prefer, as opposed to the siding. We thought the siding matched and blended well with the neighboring parcels, so that's why we've proposed that. When you reviewed this previously in September, a lot of the concerns had to do with runoff and drainage. I think Daniel's done a really nice job explaining the infiltration basin, the improvement over existing conditions, and it complies with the stormwater quality manual with regard to redevelopment sites. So maybe not new construction; those are a different set of standards. But we've met the guidelines with regard to the redevelopment of this site. So I think that I hope, addressed those concerns. I know that traffic was another concern at the previous meeting. There were concerns about would big tractor trailers be coming to the site, pulling over on the side of 44 in the right of way and dropping off and unloading cars. First of all, you heard that we don't anticipate trailers really delivering cars to the site. That would be a rarity. I'm not going to say it's never going to happen, but most of the cars are driven onto the site. But we can accommodate off-site trailer deliveries, as you see from this turning movement here. So there will be no impeding of traffic flow on 44. There was also some concern that it would create additional traffic in the area. And I think you've heard now first of all, this is a business zone. Any business here is going to create some traffic. That's the whole point of a business, is for profit, right? People go there, they open a service industry or a retail service or something, and they're hoping to make money. They're hoping to have customers come. Traffic will be generated. This is a highly traveled corridor, and anything is going to generate more traffic than what you have existing because it's vacant and derelict. And you've got no trips going there now. I think what we're proposing, the use that we're proposing, is a much more modest use than a number that your regulations permit. As of right, not even with a special permit. I mean, when you look at retail stores and restaurants and probably even banks, I'm sure even banks, they generate a much higher traffic volume than what we're expecting here with, 10 to 15 trips per day. A very, very minor increase in traffic. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I totally forgot to turn that off. My bad. I'm sorry. Um, so, the bulk of the concerns from last time, I think we have addressed. You have a very, I would say, very nice letter in that just came in from public comment from the fire chief, Paul Varga. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I hope you've all had a chance to review it. It did just come in today. It's dated today, but it talks about this isn't an unusually high occurrence of accidents on this road. He's reviewed the accidents and say it's no higher than some of the other intersections in town, and it's fairly modest. I mean, any accident's a bad accident, but it's one per year, I think, is what he had said. And he referenced the fact that, it would be a low traffic generator compared to a number of other uses that could go here. Really, the risk of EV fires, which I think was mentioned at the last hearing, is so speculative and unwarranted. I mean, could a fire happen accidentally anywhere? Yes, but I think he makes the point that when the cars are unplugged and not charging, there's the least amount of risk, which is what we're going to have here if they sell electric cars. There's a higher risk of people plugging in their cars at home and having a fire at their own homes. So I think there was a lot of speculative concerns at the last hearing that you worry about, but without any actual proof that this is going to cause harm, you can't rely on those. And so I really appreciate that he put some time and thought into issuing this letter. I think it should give you some comfort that, in his opinion, this site is not at risk for emergency access or any traffic circulation concerns. Um, so, so I just want to again take you back to your regulations for a minute. Again, this is a special use, so that means you do have to review it on a case by case basis. It's not permitted as of right, but it's allowed in this zone, just like a number of other uses are allowed in this zone. You just have to look and make sure that the site is designed appropriately. And your regulations and the application process for special permits say that, the whole point of the review is to provide a comprehensive review of the proposed plan and the layout of the buildings and the use, so you can evaluate the impacts on health, safety, welfare, and the environment. Like I said, you probably didn't have as much information last time that this was presented. I hope that we filled in a number of those blanks for you this evening and with the documents that we've presented. This is an existing building. So to say that the building is going to have an impact We can't really say that that's going to happen because the building's there. But now you look at the use. Is the use appropriate for this site? Well, I'd say yes. It's a low traffic generator. It's going to probably cause less congestion and concern than a lot of others have. Any potential of contaminants with the use is going to be addressed with our stormwater quality management. It's been designed by an engineer to take into account all the necessary precautions. I think, again, when you're looking at traffic and circulation, you've got two existing curb cuts there that are within the state's right of way. They're going to have to review, the DOT is going to have to review the repavement, but there's no improvements being made. We have a whole bunch of existing conditions that, if anything, we're just making better. Um, I don't see how we can say this is going to have a negative impact on any of the neighboring properties. Again, we're talking commercial zone. You're talking Dollar General next door, a package store and cafe next door, gas station across the street. This is an appropriate site for this type of a use. And I think that we've designed it to ensure that there's going to be no negative impacts. And lastly, I know last time there was some concern about consistency and compliance with your plan of conservation and development. And I don't, with all due respect, I don't know how you can find that this doesn't comply with your plan of conservation and development. Your plan of conservation and development says, hey, let's advertise Ashford as open for business. You need business. You need businesses and you need to new businesses in order to keep the tax rates from hiking and putting all the onus on the resident property owners. But objective number 2 under principal objectives for economic business is the position is that Ashford's open for business. Promote economic development that provides needed goods and services. This is a service. Maybe not everybody needs it, but it's a service. People buy cars. They need cars. Darn it, I need a car. My son's going to be done with college, and he's going to be home for the summer. So, I mean, it's a needed service. Maybe not for everyone, but it's a needed service. And objective number 3 in your plan of conservation and development is that priority should be placed on reuse and redevelopment of existing sites, and these derelict and vacant sites should be targeted for redevelopment. That's what we've got here. It might not be adding millions onto your tax rolls, it might not be creating dozens of jobs, but it is adding productive use to a commercial space that's sitting as an eyesore in town right now. It's a derelict site. This is better use. And as your fire chief also pointed out in his letter, occupied sites are so much better for the town than vacant sites. They're policed better. There's less chance of fire and vandalism and crime. When you've got an owner occupant there who's managing his site and policing it. So I really do believe that this application is complete, that it meets all of the requirements of your regulations. It fulfills the guidance set forth in your plan of conservation and development. And I hope that you will see fit to, think about this, with look at it on a clean slate tonight. Put the last application aside. This is a new application, fully developed, fully planned out, with an engineer involved. And I think that we've met all of those concerns from last time. So if you have any specific questions, I would be happy to answer them. And if I can't, then Daniel can. And we can see, how you're feeling.
Okay. Dory, Daniel, thank you for that presentation. So now we do open it up to the commissioners. I just want to also, little housekeeping. Jerry Dufresne has joined us, so I'll be seating Jerry at whatever time it is now, 7:27, and or 37, excuse me, 37. And unseating Stephanie. However, Stephanie and Doug, you have all of the rights of a commissioner except for voting in the hearing, asking questions, concerns, raising concerns, part of the discussion during the hearing. So please feel free to participate during the hearing. Jerry, you want to confirm you're there?
I'm here.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you. Sorry I was so delayed. I just didn't want to interrupt their flow there.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, very good. Okay, so
I-
talking to
I
commissioners.
had trouble logging in, that's all.
Okay.
Okay.
Jeff, Mark Schnubel, don't we have an open seat that has to be filled by an alternate?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. Yes. So, Stephanie, we can keep you seated for that open seat. How's that sound?
Sorry, I'm muted. That sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me, Mark. I keep thinking we have a full complement, but we don't. Okay. So we've seated Jerry and we've seated Stephanie. And Doug, you can't participate, as I said earlier. Okay. Any questions from the commissioners to our applicant and their spokesfolk? Janet?
Yeah. Hi, thank you for your presentation. Sorry, I just dropped something. Thank you for your presentation. So I see that you've reduced the number of cars, parking spots. So that means that if you bring in a 3-car trailer, you have room for it without moving any cars. Is that correct?
But I don't expect that there will be trailers again, but yes, if we bring in a trailer, there will be room for it based on that turning movement plan that we showed. So it will be fully off 44. They won't have to load or unload on or within the state's right of way.
And the length of it, I don't know what these sizes are, but they look big to me. The length of it would fit in the parking lot. It wouldn't like hang into the road.
In the letter itself, I'm not looking to testify here, but in the letter that we received from J&D, it does identify the trailer is about 50 feet long, and that front section is about 142 feet, so it's about a third of the entire size.
Oh, okay. I forgot that.
No, it's okay.
And then I do have another question for Mr. Blanchett. Could you describe the riprap in the back of the building that is going to keep the water from flowing with velocity down the hill?
Of course, yeah, I'd be happy to touch on that. Let me pull out sheet 2 of the plan set. It has a little bit more detail. And so we're specifying a riprap outlet that's 8 feet wide and 12 feet long. It'll have an 18-inch thick layer of 4-inch crushed, 18-inch thick of riprap over 4 inches of 2-inch crushed stone. So it's a pretty robust apron for the type of water that's coming out of there.
That sounds good. Yeah.
What's the slope? I don't know what's the slope there that is the
I'm sorry, I can't give you an exact number right now. I don't have that in front of me. It's steeper than the rest of the site. It's not extremely steep.
Okay. Thank you. And I have one more question, if you don't, that's okay. The schematic shows parking in front of the garage doors. Does that mean that you don't anticipate bringing cars into the garage?
The client parking is in front of the garage doors, so that's customer parking. So I would expect that we will, adjust operationally as necessary to get cars in there for service. I mean,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, there's room to move the cars around, and they don't have too many customers coming. They either have customers coming to, again, 10 to 15 trips a day, coming to look at cars or to drop cars off for service. And I've been, with the space on site, they can move cars around if need be to get into a service bay, I would expect.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any others, Janet?
No, I'm done.
Okay. Thank you. Doug, got your hand up. Go right ahead, please.
Jeff, I just had a question about the
Jerry, hang on. I had recognized Doug. He had his hand up here.
I'm
I'll do
sorry.
you right after. That's fine. Go ahead, Doug. You're muted. You're unmuted.
I
Go
was
ahead.
double muted. I'm sorry. Following up with Janet, because I think the answer to her question on the spillway is on page 2 of the site plan. I just want to ask Mr. Blanchett if I'm reading the site plan correctly. So in section BB in the upper right of page 2, is the y-axis the elevation and the x-axis is linear distance along the property in terms of feet?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so the spillway is about 4 feet in elevation drop, Janet, over the course of, well, almost 10 feet in length, plus or minus. And then one other question for you, Mr. Blanchett, just for the general folks on the call, can you just please describe what riprap is in terms of the size of the stone, et cetera?
Yes, of course. So riprap is essentially it's a type of crushed stone, but of a fairly large diameter. You know, the DOT recognizes 3 types of riprap. There is riprap, intermediate riprap, and modified riprap. Modified riprap is the smallest kind. A lot of times, like if you're driving on the highway, you might see, again, some 12, 18-inch boulders coming down next to an embankment for a bridge, something like that. We're proposing modified riprap, which is the smallest kind. I'd say it's roughly 6 inches in diameter on average.
Thank you. Thank you for your feedback. Jeff, I'm good at the moment.
Okay, thank you for the riprap lesson. I appreciate that. Other commissioner questions?
Jeff, I just had a
I'm
question.
sorry, Jerry.
about,
Yep, go ahead, Jerry.
the building itself, the siding on the building, or if they're just painting it or doing some type of siding.
Yes, Jerry, we will be proposing the renderings show what we're proposing, which is siding to be similar to the Dollar General next door. We could paint it if you would prefer, but we thought the siding would be a nice improvement.
Okay.
Okay, Jerry?
Yes, that sounds good.
Okay. Commissioner Pesh, Steve.
Hey, folks, thanks. So I want to follow up with questions that Janet and Doug raised. I think these should be fairly easy. I'm just curious about some things. So the grade, and this is probably for Mr. Blanchett, the grade looks like drop off mostly towards the west, towards the Dollar General side, but also a bit towards the south, the rear side of the property. I'm wondering, is there going to be any sort of curb or berm on the parking lot on that south side? I think it shows as such on the site plan, but it's a little hard to see. Is that what bitume something means? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. In
Right.
general, the site drains towards the west, but I also don't want any of that pavement to accidentally go to the south. And so if you look at the south side of the parking lot, we are proposing a bituminous curb.
Yep.
And so that any runoff that does want to go south will be directed west into the basin.
Yeah. And thanks. And that's what I assumed it meant. I just wanted to hear it said. And then, echoing off of your riprap listen there, 800 cubic feet of rain during a rainfall event over that spillway with 10, 20 centimeter riprap. I'm sure you've done the math. Like, is there an erosion risk there with that volume over that steep of a slope?
No, I don't believe so. Again, and looking with this site, it's a relatively small site. I think I mentioned around 8,000 square feet of impervious area. And so even during large storm events, there's not a tremendous amount of runoff compared with, for something example like the Dollar General. And so I believe that the smallest type of riprap is appropriate to reduce those velocities. I don't think that the water is going to be enough to push 6-inch stones away.
Okay. And the last, and this kind of gets to one of the questions that Janet was asking, and maybe this goes back to Ms. Reiser. Um, she was asking about how do people get in and out of the garage doors if that's where the client parking is. Um, I note that on your site rendering, you have curbs in front of the garage doors. Maybe that's just artistic license, but it seems big white curbs blocking the garage doors would prevent people from driving into them.
That's a good question. That's actually, yes, I do see the curb stops there. I
I'll
think,
chalk it up to artistic license.
yeah, I think so. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to get in for service. So yes, I apologize for that. I didn't pick up on that, but that's a good point.
I would not suggest any curbs there.
No, well, they're kind of fun to bump over.
But they are, you can see that the spaces are all painted and striped and clearly delineated. So that should be enough to guide people where to park.
All right, I have no further questions. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
They're actually speed bumps, Steve, so they don't go flying into the bay. Okay. Any other commissioners with questions? I just have a couple here. You had mentioned, Daniel, you had mentioned an encroachment permit pending. Has that been submitted to the state, or we're waiting for this to go through?
It has not. For the DOT to issue an encroachment permit, one of their conditions is always approval from the town, a zoning permit. If I
Okay.
was doing a new driveway, I would submit my plans to DOT. They would review it. They would reject it. Their letters always say, okay, come back once the town has approved it. And
Understood.
again, in this case, there's no changes other than replacing existing pavement. I don't feel it's necessary to submit a plan to DOT until we have town approval.
Understood. Understood. Thank you. And Janet stole my question about the reduction in inventory. Let's see. And just checking here. I'll save these questions till the end. Okay. Any other commissioners with questions for the applicant and their spokesfolk? Hearing none and seeing none at this time, and again, I'm sorry I'm so nasal. We open up to public comment. So again, just to go over the rules with public comment, please limit your comments to 2 minutes. Speak to the commission, more importantly, towards the chair. And any questions should be directed to the commission, not to the applicant directly. And again, please state your name for the record. And I missed this, but I caught it earlier. Caspian has joined us, so hopefully he's been able to hit the ground running and starting him for the recording secretary. Luckily, we do videotape, and he'll be able to catch up that way. Caspian, welcome. Thank you. Good luck. So we'll open it up to public comment. And first one I see is Christina Sebo. Electric Hand Beach, Loretta, we'll come to you.
Okay, I'm unmuted.
You
Thank
are
you.
unmuted.
Christina Sebo, 91 Perry Hill Road, Ashford. The proposed site plan describes having at least 23 parking spaces for used cars on this very small lot. There's zero possibility that none of these cars will leak something toxic onto the pavement, whether gas, oil, brake fluid, antifreeze, etc. I've looked at your drainage plan. To me, it does not appear sufficient to address how they will prevent toxic runoff from pavement and also service bays from running off and entering the ground and then down into the Southworth community and the Mount Hope River via the Knowlton Brook. I mean, I see you slow things down and you kind of drain things into the ground, but it still goes down. It still goes down and it eventually will get down into the brook. So I just see a real problem with that. Okay, second of all, in the special permit regulations require all surface water drained from roofs, streets, parking lots, and other impervious areas shall be disposed of in a safe and efficient manner that will not create problems of water runoff or erosion on the site or on neighboring sites or pollution of surface water or groundwater. I don't see that your rock drainage stuff prevents pollution of surface water or groundwater. My second major issue is what kind of fencing or signage will be used on this property. In other properties owned by this company group, I believe they have chain link fencing around the properties. If you're going to have chain link fencing around the properties, that's not going to be consistent with the rural character of Ashford. It's certainly not going to be as attractive as your very nice artistic drawings. Ashford special permit regulations require that exposed storage or utility areas, exposed machinery, service areas shall be designed with screen plantings, fencing, or other screening methods to be compatible with the environment and the surrounding properties. I don't think a chain linked, fenced off lot with cars in the middle of it is consistent with the environment and surrounding properties of Ashford. My final concern is that I'm not sure that the PZC has the authority to monitor the facility for the future to ensure that it stays neat and clean and doesn't turn into something looking like the service center junkyard on Route 44 in Willington. That's a major concern. We already have a blighted area right across from the fire station. I really don't want to see another one at the major intersection of 74 and 44. And I'm not sure that the PZC has the authority or the ability to stop that from happening. It's really kind of a corner of our town. It's the first thing people see usually when they come into Ashford is that intersection, which is crazy already. So I have a problem with this. I'll stop now. Thank you very much. Thank you for all your time.
Thank you, Christine. Loretta, you had your hand up.
Okay. Loretta Roble, 297 Pumpkin Hill Road. My concern, well, first of all, I am very much in favor of business in Ashford and particularly small business. And particularly since now with all of the tax increases and everything. And I applaud the people who have been working on this. They seem to have really done a really good job. However, my concern is, I think, similar to what Christine said about leakage from the cars that are there. That's number one. But number two, and my primary concern is adding another entry and exit to this area. Now, people say, oh, it's not going to be that many cars and everything. But I'm on that road a lot, and I've lived in Ashford since '87. I did have an accident there. Someone hit me who was turning into the gas station. And even though it was only one accident, it really did ruin my life for a while. And there was nothing, it wasn't my fault. So it's a big deal when you travel that road a lot. Even 5 cars can make a difference, but it's a very dangerous intersection, and there are a lot of cars coming in different directions, and there are a lot of trucks who come from 74 and turn left, and very often they're turning left right in front of where I'm coming, so I have to brake or stop. This has happened several times for me. And like I said, I travel that road a lot. I go to Coventry a lot, I go to Hartford, and that is the road I use. And so my concern is that even though, yes, many ways it seems like this business would be an okay business, there are a few little problems that could create a lot. And I'm not sure even why the Department of Transportation okayed the Dollar General there, because there are close calls. Yes, there probably hasn't been a lot of accidents, but there are many close calls. And the more often you drive on that road, you understand the difficulty. So that's basically what I had to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Loretta. Next up, Jesse Murray.
How do I?
Hi, Jesse Murray. I live on Southworth Drive. So, to make it short, and I'll start off by addressing, everybody does want businesses here, but it's the type of business, right? We already have the tax base. We already like the owner of the building is already paying taxes, so the expansion really does nothing for it, right? The engineer and attorney Reiser has already told us that they don't plan to make much improvements to the building, so that's not going to change the appraisal. And really, the concern is it's the blight on the community, right? As all parties have already mentioned, the first thing that you see when you come into this town, it's a liquor store and a Dollar General. Okay, if people wanted to see a liquor store and a Dollar General when they come in to do business in a town or move to a town or bring their family somewhere, they could go do that in Willimantic or maybe Bloomfield, where the applicant also has another business. And if you'd like to take a look at what these used car lots look like in practice, go ahead and take a look at 86 Granby Street. In addition to that, it's the type of business that you're going to bring in here. It's a high risk business, right? So that's true to any insurance assessment. You risk inventory theft, accidents during test drives, general liability claims, vehicle damage, and used car lots are not the type of business that you want as a welcoming town. It does nothing for the rural value of the town. It's a vacant lot now, right? No one's going to argue that. But I think this is subtraction by addition at this point. You're going to add a used car lot into something that's already empty. You're going to make the area even worse by making a used car lot. It's a terrible decision. I think it's going to take away from the town. It does absolutely nothing for the tax base. And that's pretty much the key arguments that I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. Paul Varga.
How do I?
Oh,
Hi, Jeff. Thank you.
Go ahead, Paul. I'll get to you, Ruth.
Okay, thank you.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Go ahead, Paul.
Thanks, Jeff. First, I'll just disagree with the previous statement about the tax base. If anybody knows me, first of all, sorry for the new guy, Paul Varga, Zychek Road. I wear a couple hats in town. One of them is the fire chief. I've addressed that in a letter. I won't go any further with that. I will, though, invite the commission, as I said in the letter, if you have any direct questions regarding fire safety or emergency services, please address it to myself or the fire marshal's office. There were a lot of misstatements in the previous meeting, which I was not in attendance at because I was at work. Now, I'll flip hats. I'm a taxpayer in town who also sits on the Board of Finance. We do not have the tax base that we need in this town from the business side. To blatantly say that this won't add to the tax base is completely incorrect. Yes, the current owner pays taxes on the building. Just by paving the parking lot and putting siding on the building will increase the value of the building. But not only that, equipment, etc., is also taxed at the personal income tax rate. That's a property tax. Anybody who owns a business in town understands that. I don't know all the details on the used car business, not my purview. I'm an agricultural guy, but I know how it works. This business was a service station and a gas station for years. We currently have one across the street. I don't see any issue. We have an engineered plan for water runoff, etc. Deep would be involved when they do their site plan stuff as well because of the potential for contamination, and it would be addressed. That's a DEP thing. I don't think that's a PZC thing. I think we need the business in town. It would be nice to have this business occupied and not an empty eyesore that everybody's so concerned about what you see when you come into Ashford. And right now what you see is a dilapidated building with no asphalt all over the place and some semi that use the parking lot so they can go to the liquor store, the Dollar General, or the cafe, the Wooden Spoon. We need to do stuff. We need to attract business. I don't think a used car lot is a bad business to have in town. In fact, it might be something that some townspeople could use. We wouldn't have to go to Willimantic or wherever else people go, Vernon, to buy a used car. Somebody just said they needed a car for their son because he's graduating high school. There you go. You don't even have to leave town. that's all I got. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul. Any other public comment?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Ruth. I forgot. You're not lighting up. Go ahead, Ruth, please. Ruth,
Okay. Quick thing. Quite a few years ago, I looked at that building thinking it would make great studio space and walked around it and realized that the back of that building drops off really, really steeply and looks as if part of that area is fill, which means it's not particularly stable. The degree of slope behind the building makes that area that is going to be rip-wrapped to catch, quote, all the runoff from the new and old paving will not necessarily be accessible to be cleaned out. And if planning and zoning is going to pass this, they need to have a plan of clean out for that area, because that riprap is going to fill up really fast with that amount of paving and the amount of sand that's used in the winter for keeping things from being slippery and therefore plowed off towards that filtration system. If there's no plan to clean it up, it's not going to work for very long. Second of all, the boundary behind that, or at the end of that pipe, is quite close. There is no A2 survey on that property, at least what I could find. There is no property lines or how far the brook is from that pipe. I know from just watching gravel come off a dirt road how far it goes into the woods without being in any way caught. It's a long ways. Additional thing is, on the map, it shows additional paving beyond the present tree line. I don't know what's under that present tree line that's between the present building and Dollar General. I don't know if that's fill or what's in there, but that's something that perhaps should be looked at. I don't know how stable it is. The other thing is, I did a drawing of that building quite a few years ago because, again, I thought it would make great studio space. I submitted that drawing to the Economic Development Commission. I don't know where it went to. I still have a copy. But in really looking at the buildings, the leach field does not exist. There is a septic tank. You've got to be able to get down to that septic tank to be able to pump it once in a while. That's a very, very steep slope. So accessibility, long-term, think about it. I think that's all I had to say. Oh, and if the roof runoff should be included, as I imagine it was, in the paving runoff. I don't think I have, except that for the survey, doesn't show property owners on any of the maps. It doesn't show the owner behind the building. And they should have been notified. I don't know if they were. That's all. Thank you. I can't hear you.
Sorry, I had to go off speaker for a second. Thank you, Ruth.
Okay.
Anyone else from the public?
Yes.
Okay. If I don't see anyone else, Christine, you are on again.
Okay, thank you. Am I muted?
Excuse me,
No,
Jeff.
you can hear me?
Whoops, I can now. Hang on, Chris. Let me go to Wendy here, who hasn't had an opportunity.
Sorry, Chris. Chris. I can't raise my hand. I'm on my phone. I don't know how to raise my hand. So
no problem.
In any event, I'll try to make mine quick. This is Wendy Schnubel, and I'm from Southworth Drive. My big concern is the fact that this business, it doesn't meet the requirements for businesses to look like the traditional architecture that is in the POCD. The building currently is cinder blocks, although they have said that they're going to put some siding on it to make it look like the other buildings. But there's no peaked roof line. All the other buildings that we have in that area all have a peaked roof line. So, I mean, they kind of look very, rural town, traditional New England. And this particular business is not going to look like a traditional New England small town building. It's just going to look like a cinder block building with a little lipstick on it. It's not really going to give it an improvement. If it's going to look like a neighbor building, then it should look like a neighboring building with a roof line. I mean, this building is what you're going to see when you're coming down Route 74, 244. You're entering into the public face, or what we say is the gateway of town of Ashford. Is this really what we want to see? Coming into the gateway of Ashford is a used car lot. Also, we don't know, but his other business, he has two other businesses, one in Bloomfield, one I believe is in Massachusetts. In both businesses, they have chain link fence around this property. And I know other people have already said this too about the chain link property. That's not a very desirable look either. It definitely does not present a rural town, traditional New England look to it. My other question is, and my other concern is used cars. There's already theft that goes around, going on in these towns with the catalytic converters. So this is just an invitation for more theft in the area for these, used cars. We don't have a police station here. We're going to depend on the state police. So, that's a concern for me as well. So, also, everyone's talking about business. Everyone wants a business in the town. I don't disagree. I think we need more businesses. But, when you ask someone from town what kind of business they want, the desirable businesses they talk about are things like retail stores, childcare, a studio such as what other person said, or personal service type entity, not a used car dealership. It does not provide, and this also does not provide for employment for the town's people. It says it has 2 people. They'll have 2 employees. My guess is those employees are going to be coming from their other businesses and not someone from this town. I could be wrong, but I'm just presuming that. And again, with the tax benefit, I've been in taxes all my life. I just retired, but I was in tax all my life. This building is really not going to provide any tax benefit. Yes, it will get rid of an empty building. Yes, it's going to be a business, but it will not provide enough taxes to make a dent in what we have for lack of taxes collected in this town. We really do need to have more of a better business, and maybe we should start looking for better businesses out there instead of depending on people like this with used cars coming in. So my last thing is the traffic. We've talked about it. This intersection, Paul Parvarga did make a note that they're not that bad, but not every time does the fire department get called for accidents. There have been multiple accidents, not just close ones. There have been accidents at that intersection. If people don't pay attention, now we're talking about people coming to this car place who are not familiar with the intersection, who are not familiar with the car that they're test driving, and they pull out thinking they're good, and there's a car coming over that hill, or people are at the stop sign, or coming out of the Dollar General, and there's going to be accidents. I can guarantee you, not that I want them, but guarantee you there will be accidents because this is a terrible, terrible intersection. There are other businesses there. Yes, the mobile station has an in and out, 2 different places to come in and out. This business it's on the same, within 50 feet of each other of the in and out. So that's, my main concerns. And I'm thinking that it's going to also reduce the value of our homes and the areas behind it. It's just not a very pleasant looking business. Even though you reduce the number of cars you're going to have at this business, a used car lot is just not desirable. That's it. I'm sorry. I'm done.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Wendy. Christine, electric hand. Go for it.
Yeah, a couple more little things. First of all, the applicants keep talking about it's a derelict building, an abandoned lot. It was actually really cute with the mural on it until they took that off. So that's there on them. Second of all, I heard what's her name, Dory Reiser, say that something about dropping cars off for service. I was under the impression that there wasn't going to be any service at that site except for the cars that they were selling. Am I to understand that people who buy those cars can keep bringing them back for service? And if so, that's yet more traffic and disruption. Finally, back to the traffic. So when they talk about this isn't going to add much to what is, but what is already way more than what was at the original site 30 years ago when that was a service station. You know, we now have Dollar General, the Cumberland, the Extra Mart across the street. There's more business at the liquor store. There's the Southworth community. So it's already increased to an almost an unmanageable point. In the Ashford special permit regulations, there is a requirement that a traffic report indicating existing traffic conditions at normal and peak travel times for, at a minimum, any street abutting or passing through the lot affected by the application, and also indicated the projected impact of the proposed use on such traffic conditions. So that's like now. What is going to increase now? Not maybe what it should have been 50 years ago. Under Ashford zoning regulations, one of the aims is to lessen congestion in the streets and prevent the overcrowding of land. That's to lessen congestion, not just to kind of keep it sort of the same, to lessen. So we need in this town to lessen some of the problems that we have, not to like just sort of let them float by. And I think that particular intersection is where we really need some more traffic calming measures and some lessening of congestion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christine.
Hello,
I'm sorry. Yes, Ruth?
yes, I had a couple of comments. Until this town really looks at the use of land and the ability of land to have a certain type of development, we're not going to get very far on that corner. At one point, I proposed, and I don't know when and how long ago, that the old property that once sold sheds above the liquor store be bought for a community leach field for that area. As you know, Extra Mart, Dunkin' Donuts had to buy the lot below them because their leach field failed because it was under the parking lot. And the other issue is the traffic. I've almost gotten in an accident at that corner. There needs to be a roundabout because it's a very dangerous corner. I came up there one night in the fog and ran up the wrong way, turning left onto 74. One more issue, to go back to the leach field beyond the building. There again is no room for a leach field. It's really, really steep. That building cannot be developed without a leach field, unless you put it under the paving, which means it will fail. You cannot develop it any bigger than what it is because there is nothing behind that building to put anything into. What they have proposed behind that building looks like one galley and then some sort of dry well. And I tried to put a dry well in my house and it's not legal. So think through that. Again, you have to be able to clean out a septic tank periodically if that's all you have. I'm all for developing that building if it has the capacity to be developed in a manner that is environmentally correct and correct for the town's use. I think we need good, solid businesses. But again, you need to do your due diligence before you even buy a building for the needs, the capacity of what the site has. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ruth.
If you want to see that drawing, I can hold it up of what the building might have looked like. Can you see that?
Partially.
How's that?
Oh,
It was
cute.
Something.
Yeah, it was to be a little office building. Small leach field capacity, small site, small parking.
Okay. Thank you, Ruth. Uh, any other public comment at this point?
The letter from Gail Chernosky needed to be read.
I didn't know there was a letter.
Yeah, it's in the document. She wanted someone to read it.
Mike D'Amato got it as a late submission today, Jeff Smart.
Oh, okay. I knew Paul had come
Her
in.
husband is sick, so she could not be on the meeting. So she wanted someone to read it. And if you could read that for her, that would be wonderful.
Mike, you want to call that up?
Sure. Yep.
Thank you. Okay, I got to get rid of myself out of here so I can read this. To Ashford Planning and Zoning Commission from Gail Chernosky. Subject, motor vehicle sales and service at 221 Pompey Hollow Road, Monday, April 13th, 2026. The use being proposed for 2021 Pompey Hollow Road is a used car dealership and general automotive repair service. I'm writing in opposition. The West Hartford Warrenville area is defined on our POCD as the public face of Ashford. The vision for the zone calls for the development consistent with the feel of a small rural New England town. A used car lot is the antithesis of this. Well, I said that right. And will not contribute to the stated goals of the POCD or the town citizenry survey responses. Our regulations do not prohibit nor regulate the problems that have been reported in conjunction with non-franchise used car lots. Kansas City recently had to introduce an ordinance to deal with these problems, which included overcrowding on the lots, trash, unsightly views of non-operational cars, and not enough theft deterrent mechanisms. Thank you, Mike. Our POCD stated economic objectives provide needed goods and services, increase the tax base, and provide jobs. This business does none of the above. Citizens have requested services like retail stores, childcare, grocery stores, and restaurants, but not used car dealerships. It increases the tax base by a pittance. The building is assessed at a paltry $29,500, and the inventory of 24 odd cars cannot be taxed at all. They are exempt under Connecticut General Statute 12-8154. As to job creation, the applicant proposes to hire a total of 2 people. Other stated goals for this district to become more pedestrian and bike friendly, to explore with the state DOT methods of traffic calming along routes 44 and 74, and widening the lanes to allow bike and pedestrian traffic. This application will not allow any of that. The applicant is proposing to encroach on the ROW right of way and so narrow the roadway just to enable car trailers to park in the right of way because there's no room for them to pull into this lot. This will do the opposite of traffic calming. This is not what our POCD intended. The intersection of 44 and 74 has more accidents than any other intersection in Ashford. Please see the embedded map below, a summary of 10 years of accident data, which was prepared at UConn's Connecticut Crash Data Repository. This report and many others can be viewed online at Connecticut Crash at .uconn.edu. When proposed development adds traffic and encroaches on an arterial road in one of the most dangerous locations in our town, then it should not be approved until the causes have been corrected. If correction is not practical, then approval should be denied. Anything below this, Mike? Thank you. Site plan concerns. The proposed site plan does not appear, nor does it claim to meet current lot coverage requirement, which is a maximum of 75% impervious lot coverage. Looking at the site plan, it seems some parking spaces and paved areas may be violating the 20-foot setback requirement. There is a request for the board to waive reporting of the setback measurements, but the board cannot approve this application if it does not meet the setbacks, especially not when there are significant changes in use. The applicant in its narrative estimates 10 to 15 trips per day based on building size. Another way to measure the trips per day is based on the number of cars for sale, 24. There are 25 parking spaces. Using the method, you get 10 times the amount, about 137 trips per day. Trip generation software at www.arterial.co. The site plan has not been signed by the engineer who prepared them. Under the signature line, it states that the map is not considered valid until signed. In light of this, I hope the board will review it critically. Gail Chernosky. Thank you, Mike. Okay. Any other public comment at this point? Mark, you had your hand up earlier?
No, that was just for the reading that letter, and that's all.
Okay, thank you. Okay, seeing as that there is no more public comment to address, I would go back to, excuse me. Too many papers. Any other questions from the commissioners at this point? Of the applicant. Well, one of the things that I have is Dory and Daniel, you've heard comments about the both the POCD, and I know Dory, you addressed the POCD in your comments. And the fact we're in the process of developing the new POCD. We're a few months away from having our next 10-year approved section put out, or POCD plan put out. And in there, we expanded a little bit upon the village district look. And I know some of the public comments talked about that. I was just wondering if, and again, this is an ask. It's not, obviously, I know it's not a requirement, but you heard some of the comments. Would the applicant and owner be open to some type of a facade on the roof, similar maybe to what Dollar General has done? They have uh, uh, a peak to nowhere in the middle. It doesn't do anything to the second floor or anything like that. And then there's some hip roof or gable roofing along the edge of it. It would fall in line better with the type of New England style village district that we're looking for. And not trying to break the bank of an investment of your applicant. I just wonder if that was something that would be potentially considered.
Mr. Chairman, it's difficult for me to have a conversation with him to obviously discuss that with him.
We could go. Do you want us to
Because-
go?
Yeah, why don't you all go on mute? No. He is available and he's in the audience if he wants to chime in. I just will note again, and I appreciate that you caveated that, say it's not really a requirement, it's an ask, right?
Right.
We are making significant improvements, we do believe, to the existing condition of that building. Improvements have been made with the windows already, the doors upgraded, and the siding we think will go a long way to improving the look of it as is. I don't believe there's any fence shown on the plan. I know there was a lot of concern about there being chain link fence there. I don't recall seeing a detail for that. But I know everyone's concerned about how it looks. I do feel no matter what, it's going to look better than what's there. But I guess, Hassan, I don't know if you want to chime in and make any comments about the roof and whether that's a fake or, some kind of facade roof is something you would consider or not. Can you hear me? Are you
I
there?
can hear you guys.
Okay.
So we would have definitely do that, but it's no problem. But as building department knows, there's already a brand new roof installed on the building.
I'm sorry, is the applicant Hassan or Oguz? I apologize for interrupting.
Hassan.
Hassan
And August.
Oguz is
Both of us.
the property owner, the member of the property owner, and Hassan's the applicant. Mhm.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah. As building department knows that there's a brand new roof installed last summer in this property. Otherwise we would have definitely, give the different look to it if this was asked for before with the trusses. But we already spent over $20,000 into the roof alone already.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark, you have your hand up.
I do. So I'm not sure if I should, am I supposed to make my comments now or during our?
This is just questions or statements of the applicant at this point, that you would. It's still the hearing.
Right. So I guess I still have questions about the siding. I mean, you say siding to look like Dollar General. I'm not exactly sure what that means. And at the last public hearing where we denied the application, Jeff made the same mention at that public hearing about putting a facade on it, and which wouldn't require replacing the roof. The Dollar General, it's a peaked facade. So would this be the time, Jeff, where I can the photos that I showed at the last public hearing in September of other properties that are in the special?
I would think you're going to bring that up at our meeting for our
Okay,
discussion.
all right, just trying to
Okay. I think I believe Hassan has an idea of what we're talking about, especially when we point out the Dollar General right next door.
right, well, we
Yeah.
pointed out at the last
Yeah.
hearing. Yeah.
So Dollar General is a brand new built building from scratch. It's a totally different scenario than what we are into it. We have a building from 1950s. We're trying to take it off the blight zone and get it into the good shape. As next door to the liquor shop and cafe, they just have a siding and a small kind of awning looking roof. And we try to match the color wise to the Dollar General with the two color code, which looks kind of, good versus just the center blocks.
No, and if any recognition is needed, yes, you've the rendering that you've offered up is much more in line with probably the vision of our POCD and the town itself in your color scheme, and trying to match that. So I do appreciate that. So please don't think that's lost on any of us.
Jeff, I'm
Yes,
gonna
Mike.
I'm gonna bring up the email Mark sent for the photos because number one, we can't introduce anything after the hearing is closed, and number two, if we want the applicants to have an opportunity to respond. So
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry, Mike. Go right ahead. Thank God someone keeps me on the straight and narrow.
you can blame it on the cold meds.
Those wore off a little while ago.
So there's a couple of them here, and they're obviously uploaded to the materials as well. Some of them got cut off when I PDF'd them, but I'm gonna just go through. So we have Cumberland Farms and the building with the post office, and then the two multi-tenant buildings adjacent to the gas station on 74, and then the gas station itself in Dollar General. And then existing site and the building to the east.
Perhaps I could just chime in on this topic if I could, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, please.
So, obviously we don't dispute those pictures, and there are some pitched roofs on the majority of the adjacent buildings and the nearby commercial buildings. We don't dispute that. But at some point, the ask becomes cost prohibitive, right? I mean, there's a site, there's a existing building on a small site, and a small modest business is proposing to go in there. They are proposing to make improvements to the existing building, but then, improvements beyond that become cost prohibitive at some point. And all of your regulations, when they talk about the design elements, they talk about the proposed development, the proposed buildings, the proposed structures, and architectural criteria, and guidance for that. This, again, is an existing building. It's not a building being built from scratch. I don't have any doubt that if my client came in here and proposed a new build like this, you would be extracting some additional improvements. But again, we're working with what we've got there. And we're doing the best we can. I do think it's a significant improvement, probably from what you saw last time, and over certainly what's there. We are trying to tie it in to what's in the surrounding area, but the roof, unfortunately, I don't believe it's required, and it's just too much of a financial ask in order for this project to go forward. So respectfully, that's something that my clients won't consider. With regard to the fencing and the comments we heard about that, there's again no fencing proposed, and I'm not
No,
sure, in the future if they want fencing, but if you wanted to just say a stipulation
no
that
fencing.
they be, no chain link fence, then go for it. But as San just said, there's no fencing proposed. Um, I have comments to go over from the other things, but I guess perhaps we'll see if the commission has any more comments before I start addressing the public comment.
Thank you. Thank you, Dora. Mark.
Yeah, so I mean, if I can't add anything, during our commission portion of the hearing, I mean, I guess I want to read in, our POCD lists this area on page 29 as a special planning area, is the public face of Ashford as a result of the three state highways that intersect that area. And we're looking the bottom of the first paragraph to evoke the look and feel of traditional New England town, which has been said by others in the public hearing. With the majority of the town's commercial, area within the west end of Ashford, we want to maintain that concept of a small New England town. And I guess that's where I have problems with the current structure. It was previously, had covering on the cinder block that was, removed without a permit by the applicant. So the original structure was not, bare cinder block, and had, curvature, at the roof line, though it wasn't a peak loop roof line. So the building itself, the facade has been changed from its previous look. But also that was, again, I don't know when the building was originally built, how many decades ago, but it's been laying vacant for, four plus decades. I think the POCD, its vision is for that area of town from the intersection of 4474 down to 89 is a special planning area. And it is it's looking for a desirable streetscape, with attractive landscaping and transitions to adjoining properties. Where I did see that this plan does have some landscaping between Dollar General. I also know that at Dollar General doesn't have, curb cuts that allow, pavement across the entire frontage of the property. It has, approximately 30 feet deep for the majority of its frontage in grass. The same is true for the mobile station, across the street, where the majority of its frontage is grass with with just, curb cuts to allow, two vehicles in and out. So I guess I don't see a dramatic change in this proposal comparatively to the proposal that was made on September 8th hearing, other than the drainage for the impervious surface. I guess that's my comments.
Okay. Anything else from the commissioners? Seeing nothing, we will reach out to our applicant for a final statement and/or response.
Yes,
Dory?
thank you. Yes, thank you. Going through, I think I'm going to ask Daniel to chime in. I'd like him to talk just a little bit about, again, just reiterating the stormwater pollution measures that are being taken. And also, Daniel, if you could talk just briefly about maintenance of both the riprap and that septic system that's behind the building. I will reiterate what he said earlier, that the septic system has been approved by the health department for this use. So it is an approved septic system. But Daniel, could you just touch on those couple of things for me?
Of course, I'd be happy to. With regards to the septic system, I don't believe that's under the purview of the Planning and Zoning Commission. That's the responsibility of the health department. They have reviewed and approved the current septic system for the proposed use. And again, the water usage for 2 employees, a half bathroom, is very minimal. It's probably 10% of a typical household that's doing showers and laundry and dishwashing. Someone raised a concern about pumping a septic tank. The pavement, the parking lot's very close to the septic tank. Those septic trucks have a pipe that could easily reach the tank. Again, it was approved by the health department. Talking about maintenance of the stormwater basin, I don't anticipate that to be a big deal. Maybe 30 years from now, some sediment could start to clog the stones. Some of those stones could have to be excavated and replaced, but it would be a very long-term issue. It's not something that I anticipate happening anywhere near in the future. And again, someone had a concern about pollution. I believe my drainage design is comparable to other parking lots nearby. I don't really see why, again, this parking lot would be different than the Dollar General or the gas station across the street. They both have vehicles. There's a potential for some kind of fluids to drip, but it's very unlikely. And again, as Dory mentioned, there's no fencing proposed. That was another issue having to do with theft. I would suggest that theft is really the concern of the applicant and not the general public. Also, someone had made a statement about the trips per day. Someone had suggested something like 125 trips per day, which doesn't really make sense to me. We define a trip as one person entering or one person exiting. So if we have 2 employees, that would be 4 trips per day. Someone mentioned 120 something trips. That would be 60 people a day entering the site to shop for used cars, which seems, I don't totally understand that.
And it seems contrary to ITE estimates and actual usage based on experience of the applicant.
Correct. Thank you. I'm sorry, Dory, was there anything else?
No, that's great for now. Let me go through my notes. If I come up with something else, I will ask you to chime in.
Okay. I was just going to say, sorry. Lastly, someone made a comment about the PDFs not being signed. I've signed all the hard copies of everything that has been submitted to the commission. The digital copies might not have my stamp and signature, but the commission, the town hall, should have everything with the signature. We do have A2 surveys. We have lists of abutters. We have submitted all that.
Thank you. A lot of what I'm hearing in the comments tonight are, yeah, we want business, but we don't want this business. But let me remind you, this business is allowed in your regulations in this zone. And what's required is compliance with your special permit criteria. And we think we've demonstrated that tonight. We've complied with design requirements. We, again, which primarily speak to, proposed buildings, but we are making significant improvements to the existing buildings. We've complied with stormwater management requirements. We've complied with parking and circulation concerns. We've addressed issues with making sure that we're not congesting the roads with trailer deliveries, which we don't even expect, that it'll be very rare, but we can fully accommodate on site. We can, I believe your regulations dictate whether or not this is an allowable use, and I haven't yet heard where we fall short. There's some concern about the compliance with the plan of conservation and development. Well, just as much as the plan of conservation and development says that we want to preserve a rural and traditional characteristic, it also talks about a priority being improving and reusing derelict vacant sites, which, we're doing. And again, your plan of conservation and development is not a regulation, that's guidance, right? But we're taking that guidance. We are, whether it's a small number or not, we are creating a new business, increasing the tax base. There will be 2 employees. I mean, this is a 0.3 acre parcel. You're not going to have a big business go in there and significantly increase the employment and the real and personal property taxes of the town. We're working with what we've got, 0.3 acres, an existing building, and we're making significant improvements and working again with what we've got. So I'm sorry that some people don't like this business and don't think it's the right spot for it, but your regulations allow for it. And I believe, again, we've hit the criteria to show that it's appropriately designed for this specific site. Questions about whether this could become a blight on the community. Any business, any house could become a blight on the community if it's not maintained. So you can't say just because it's a used car dealership, there's a stronger likelihood that it's become a blighted area and not maintained than the convenience store and gas station across the road, or the liquor store next to it, or even the Dollar General. I mean, any of them potentially, with lack of maintenance, could become an eyesore, but you can't not approve the use that's fully compliant with your regulations based on that speculative concern in the future. Again, you've got an eyesore at the entrance. We think that we're making a significant improvement there. Let's see. There was a question about whether or not there will actually be service at the site. Again, I'm relying on Daniel's narrative that talks about oil changes, brake repairs, and things of that nature. I presume that's for customers and not just the cars being sold. But Daniel, do you know the answer to that?
I would refer to Hassan. It's my understanding that, again, they're not doing maintenance for random people, only for the cars that they purchase and sell. But, Mr.
Correct,
Hassan,
Daniel.
could you speak to that?
You are correct. So
Okay,
your
so you'll be
answer,
working on your own cars there. So
correct.
that also leads to the whole getting the cars in and out of the garages. You'll have no problem because you're in control of any cars that go in there for servicing, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. I'm sorry if I misspoke earlier on that. Let's see. Again, we've heard a lot about traffic. It's a bad intersection, allegedly. Per the fire chief, it's no worse than some other commercial intersections and roads that you've got in town. That doesn't mean that we don't take that seriously, but you've got a site that you want to put to use. And why not put it to use with one of the lower traffic generators and a higher traffic generator? We think this is, a great option for this site. You don't want to dump a lot of more cars on here. This is going to be a lot less cars than a number of your permitted as of right uses would allow for in this zone. And, my client has been responsive, I think, to all staff comments, responsive to concerns they heard in September when you first reviewed this. And really the only real concern that I think is based in your regulations or your plan of conservation and development is whether or not this, meets the criteria or the guidance in the plan about keeping the feel of a small New England town. And I think when you look at everything else that we've proposed and everything else that we've offered, again, we are making a significant improvement, making it look a heck of a lot better and more compatible with the neighboring properties by adding the siding. And I'm sorry, but the roof apparently is just too much of an ask from a financial standpoint for the applicant. And it's not something we can accommodate at this time. But we do think that it should be viewed differently since it's an existing condition, an existing building, and we are taking significant strides to making it more compatible with the surrounding area. So I would ask you to, if you do have any final questions, please, ask now while the public hearing's open. But we do believe that we've given you a compliant plan for for a use that is allowed under your regulations, allowed specifically in this zone, and we've complied with the criteria necessary to have you act favorably on it. So I would ask you to do so. Are there any questions before we close this? Looks like Mike.
Yeah, I just had a couple of things I wanted to go through while the public hearing was open. I think that sometimes the commission, I think you get to a point where you have questions, or you find yourselves in a place where you wish the hearing was still open and you had the opportunity to engage with the applicant. So I thought it would make more sense to go through some of these things now. The first is with regard to just all of the design discussion that's been going on amongst members of the commission, the public, the applicant. We've been talking about the idea of a roof. So I talked about this at the last meeting, and I'm in alignment with Dory on this. The application that is before you does not boil down to a review as to whether or not you like the roof type. This is just like when we pass zoning regulations. We don't come to people's houses and say, now that you've changed, a new person is moving in, you need to change X, Y, and Z about your property, right? They are asking to maintain their existing building, and the existing building is protected in its current configuration. The application of a use, be it that it's permitted in the zone or that it's a pre-existing non-conforming use from 60 years ago, doesn't open up this all of these other discussion points for the commission's consideration as far as the basis of a decision. At least that's my perspective on that. But the reason I say all that is I want to move away from the idea of a roof, because there are a number of things that really speak to design elements on a building. It's not just about the roof. If you look at the other photos in the other buildings in town, there are other things that could be considered. Right. So something simple like adding grills to the window. Almost all the buildings have some type of a split face facade. So they'll have, a couple of courses of brick on the bottom to break it up so that you have multiple primary materials on the facade. Very simple, not very expensive. Something as easy as running some type of an awning across or something along those lines across the front of the building would just break it up so that it's not just four sides to a building with a flat roof. So I bring all that up because if the commissioners have thoughts about something else, I don't want to get to a place where we've closed the hearing and we're going back and forth between a peaked roof or a not peaked roof, as if that's the question that the applicant has asked. So I really, think if the focus is there a way to make this building better, like we should have some of those comments made now, because the applicant has only had the opportunity to respond to this idea of fully modifying the roof, which is very truly, well above and beyond what they're asking to do as part of the use. The other thing that I wanted to do, again, because I think it's important and give them the opportunity to respond and for the commissioners to ask questions. And again, if we won't do that when the hearing is closed, is go through a list of conditions that I had from both the first application that I think have carried over and make sense and this application. Because I think that they address some of the questions and comments and will help draw a better line around some of the things that have kind of been said but left open. So can I go through those? Do you want me to go through those? Do you want me to pack up and go home?
No, please go ahead, Mike.
Okay. So they're not necessarily in exact order from what we would have talked about last time, but they mostly are. One of the things we noted in the findings or discussed noting in the findings from the previous approval is that the pre-existing nonconformities on this site with regard to both the building and the property were originally established in 1967. So that's important because it predates the town's establishment of zoning.
Right.
I then have 11 conditions. 1, erosion and sedimentation controls shall be installed prior to at the commencement of site work. That's pretty standard. 2, prior to the commencement of business operations, the applicant's engineer shall certify the installation of stormwater and landscaping improvements. So what that means is before they can get started, their engineer will tell us that all the improvements that they have just showed you on their site plan and explained to you are going to solve the problems that exist on the site today. Well, they will confirm that they're in fact installed. 3, I can bring up the site plan to show this to you. I had mentioned it to Dory when I did the review. I think that the 2 parking spaces in the northeast corner of the property, which are perpendicular to 44, should be eliminated in favor, or sorry, parallel, should be eliminated in favor of 1 space, which is perpendicular to the road. That will give enough space to get to the 2, the double stacked row of spaces to the side of the building. I think the 2 spaces there make it a little bit tight. And I think if the commission was really concerned about the customer parking, you could depict that single space as customer parking, which would be away from the building. We talked about, and I again mentioned ahead of time that we'd ask them to, though he mentioned it, depict on the plan the existing and proposed lot coverage. We could include a condition that there shall be no storage or display of vehicles in any space other than in an approved parking space. So they're not just going to keep stacking cars on the property. Once the parking spaces are filled with cars, then that's it. They've got to sell one or move one. We had this on the last discussion or last hearing. Motor vehicle hulks, parts, or vehicles which are otherwise inoperable shall not be stored or parked outside of the building. So the purpose of that is vehicles should come to the site to be sold, not bring 5 or 6 junk cars to put them together to have one good car. We don't want this to become sort of a motor vehicle purgatory. And they've been clear that that's not their intent, but I think it's important to capture. Again, this is in the application materials, but there shall be no vehicle delivery, drop off, or pickup within the shoulder of Route 44. All exterior lighting shall be installed and maintained in accordance with 300-30 of our regulations. This addresses one of the comments made prior, and is probably included within their maintenance notes, but just to be double covered, the stormwater trench and riprap spillway shall be inspected at least annually and cleaned as necessary to ensure continued functionality. And then 11, if you want to include it, there shall be no chain link fencing installed without prior review by the commission. So we want the applicant's feedback on those, because if there's an issue with some of those, we want them to obviously give their thoughts, but also the commission members, and if there's anything I missed. But I want to try to get this discussion out while the hearing is still open.
Thank you, Mike. I really appreciate that you put those on the record before it closed and we had a chance to address them. But really, they don't sound problematic to me. The only one that I'm a little bit concerned about in question is the one about the reducing the parking at the northeasterly corner from the 2 spaces to going to 1 perpendicular to the road. Now, again, that is, those are inventory spaces, not customer spaces. So my client's got a lot of flexibility over moving inventory. So if we do need access to those 4 stacked spaces that are to the east of the building, and we need to, move those cars to get those other cars in or out, I mean, we have full control over that. And that's not like it's a customer who's come to the business and we need to ask them to move the car. So, just to net one less parking space, I think it's operationally manageable for my client. We would like to retain that one, because again, with a condition that we can only park within shown and approved parking spaces, then that's an inherent limit on the number of cars we could put on the site, which I get and is a reasonable ask. But one more, my client finds important. We want to maximize the inventory that we can have. If we do have that inventory, we want to be able to show it. So I think the other ones are, obviously the engineer can certify to the installation of the required improvements. We can certainly add the lot coverage onto the plan. We did mention that during the presentation, that it's going from 60 to 63%, I think he said. There was a comment, I think maybe it was in Ms. Chernovsky's letter that was read into the record, that maybe it exceeded 75%, which is the regulations. That's not the case. Yeah, and all lighting, we're not proposing new lighting, so that will be compliant. An inspection of the basin and riprap annually is a reasonable ask, and we already said no fences, so again, no problem with that condition. So I appreciate you giving us an opportunity to address that before you close the hearing. And again, we're in line with all of those. I do believe that that just the only concern is the elimination of one space. Hassan, if while the hearing's open, you want to comment on that,
That's completely understandable. That's understandable.
So when you say it's completely understandable, do you have an objection to eliminating those two and putting the one perpendicular in there, or your preference?
It'll be nice if we can keep the both.
Right, for just to manage inventory.
Because
Okay.
we are already proposed away from the road, and it will not block anyone when they go in or out or their vision.
Right, they don't impede even the traffic circulation pattern with a trailer if and when that comes to site. So, again, we do think with management, we can get our cars in and out when needed. So we'd like to preserve that. But ultimately, I guess, commission's for you to decide, but that's our position on it. And how about with regard to design elements other than the pitched roof? Mike, you mentioned, adding grills to the windows or adding an awning across the front. Those are things that you said might maybe soften the look, or maybe get it a little bit more compatible with some of the surrounding areas. I guess my first question is that something the commission is interested in? And if so, perhaps we can have a little dialogue about that right now, and then Hassan can also respond.
I actually showed Mike one of the under the signage to have an awning when I stopped by before, but it will look nice with a little awning going in the front of the on top of the window.
Over where it says Ashford Motors, you're going to put a little awning there?
Like right under there, that like little awning that sign company proposed to us look pretty good.
Okay, so that was not on the rendering, but an awning over the sign in the window area is something that my client would agree to as a condition, if that makes you more comfortable.
Mark Schnobel, would that be a canvas awning, or are we talking about a permanent awning? And as far as the roof line, I mean, Dollar General does not have a pitched roof. It has a false facade on the front of the building that emulates a pitched roof in the front. The rest of the building itself is a flat roof, just like the current used car lot building. So when I was mentioning a pitched roof facade, I wasn't looking at pitching the entire roof. But if I go to, also, I didn't bring it up earlier, but rubbish disposal. So I'm assuming we're just using trash cans then, because I see that, there's no accommodation for a dumpster anywhere, or a means of storing a dumpster.
On this type of business, we don't need a big of a dumpster, even on the current location with 120 cars. we do have 2 cans that the trash company picks up.
Yeah. And Dory mentioned about, referencing our actual zoning regulations. Well, under, 300-818, general commercial zone, A purpose, under, or I'm sorry, not under A purpose, under G design guidelines, which is on page 46. It said it should relate to neighborhood buildings, the design. And I guess that's the ask is, it should look like it's neighboring buildings, which all have either a pitched roof or the majority have a false or a facade pitched roof, which I'm sorry, is not cost prohibitive to install a false facade.
I guess
Um,
my response to that design guideline would be that it's also clearly earmarked for new buildings and major exterior alterations or additions. It's not a new building, it's not an addition.
Well, major exterior alterations, the current owner without a permit did remove all the exterior covering that was originally on the building. So the building has already been, changed as far as exterior covering, exposing, cinder block walls on all 4 sides. That wasn't the original.
Originally, it had 3 sides with a metal siding, which was falling apart, not safe for anyone to be near the building. This is why we did, as soon as we bought the property, we took it off.
I'm just
First
making
thing that we did, because if anyone
I'm just
nearby,
making a statement. I'm not.
Yeah, I guess I'm not really familiar with what happened then. I wasn't aware that he was cited for any zoning violation by doing that. So I
There
presume
was
if
a
he wasn't
cease and
cited, then
desist.
he didn't violate the regulations by doing so. And now he's proposing to put a new material on that's much more compliant and consistent with the siding that's on the adjacent building at Dollar General.
I believe there was a cease and desist.
Okay. Again, I'm sorry, I'm not aware. I wasn't involved in that process.
Mike, can you answer that?
It wasn't anything from me. It may have been something from the building department, but I don't know the specifics on that.
So it was not a zoning violation that you're aware of, Mike?
Not through me, no.
Okay. Again, I mean, I recognize, but and I respect your ask. I can't. You can ask. I just don't think you can impose, because I don't think the regulations give you the authority to impose it except on new buildings, and new builds. So my client, Hassan, we can either stand by what we've said, which is it's cost prohibitive. We're doing a number of other improvements, and that's where we tap out. But maybe you want to talk, Hassan, about what the awning's going to be like. I think there was a question: was it going to be canvas or more permanent? I haven't seen the picture of what that looks like. Can you?
on fake walls like a not Family Dollar, Dollar General, on this small type of a property, it will not look nice. But we can maybe make it look like the one on the left, like a cafe. They have like a slight pitch on the front of the building attached. That's what we can attach between the roof and the garage door section of there. That might give a look similar to the cafe, where it says when you look at from the right picture, right side from us to them looking, that type of stuff can be done on top of the garage door to the roof line. That's a possibility, can be done. That could be cost effective as well. That it will look like pretty close to the next door on the front face of it, but I still doubt it won't look as nice as what we proposed.
Okay, I guess I'm a little.
Like the Dollar General, where the mic is pointing, the similar type to that, correct?
You could do something similar to that, you're saying?
Right, on the front facade where it's looking to where the garage doors in the front window.
Okay, over the entire front or just over the
It
front window area?
over the entire front. It should be done left to right completely. But again, I still think, as our original plan will look better than that.
You think the original plan as is and just adding the canopy over the Ashford motors is more appealing?
I think rendering is pretty nice.
I'm not
Mike, I don't know
disputing. I'm
if
not
Mike can
disputing that. I'm
re-show
just
it.
asking. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Okay. I'm
rendering
not
is
disputing. I just want clarity
yeah.
for the public record.
See where it says Ashford Motors to the right of it, to the end, to the left side of the property. We can add similar stuff to what Mike was showing with a mouse on the Dollar General. Will that make you happy, Mark?
Well, I guess if the commission wants to consider that as a condition of approval, something consistent with what my client just said, then that's something that he could consider, and then he could get some revised plan over to Mike D'Amato, perhaps for staff review and approval. Or, you know, I guess we could, I don't know how you want to handle that. I mean,
So
we thought,
just could I can be clear, when I think of an awning, I think of, as Mark said, a canvas or some other material, loose material that, could be taken out in really high storm or something like that, taken and put away, as opposed to, in this case, a hip roof or a gable or something like that. Maybe that I assume I'm not an architect, but I'm thinking that's more of a description as to what Hassan was just speaking of when he was pointing out what uh, Mike had circled around with his mouse.
I think that something like that can be doneable between those garage doors or the roof line. Will give it a look that Mark likes.
So it's something smaller than the wooden spoon and the package store, but maybe
I don't know the height
larger,
of their building, so
maybe the widthwise of the Dollar General type of thing. But we're only talking a portion of the roof,
no, from left to right,
all
to
the way
the
across.
front of the front of the building, left to right. That's gonna go to the roof line.
Oh, that's
okay.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah, that will be like a gable, and then there will be shingles that covering the stuff, and then signage can be about that. Yeah, that'll be fine.
And that would
Something
be
that something that
That
should
won't
be.
be crazy expensive, such as ripping off the whole and brand new roof on there now, which we already spent over 20,000 to it.
Yeah, and our intent was not to have you put a whole new roof on. Our intent was just something that breaks up
Yeah,
that
that to the left,
situation.
and like where the mic was pointing on that Dollar General, that's tenable because it's not a huge property that will have enough space to put that triangle, look, uh, gables there.
Yep. Doug, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to suggest, I don't think we have to actually design the features here, but there's many different ways to achieve the facade look. I think the objective should be to align with the applicant that they're willing to do something, and then we could consider that as a stipulation and then work the details with the building department. Just a suggestion. But I don't think we have to decide whether it's canvas or metal or wood, etc. here. The conversation is going down that path.
I think our communications were at an impasse where the assumption was we wanted a whole new roof put on, and that's not what we're looking for. We were looking for something to break up the box look that went much more along with the lines of what we were doing. And Hassan seems open to that.
Yeah, that's donable. Either, it will be donable that way, and then we can either use shingles or metal roofing to make it look nice.
Okay.
Okay.
And I like that,
Thank you.
Just a condition to that effect, and we can work through staff. And if staff needs to review it with you prior to final approval or issuance of CO, we could always do that. Okay.
And I just have a quick question regarding signage. I know the only signage we're showing right now is the Ashford Motorsports. Obviously, if you were to want to put up curb side signage or something, that would have to go through our signage review that we have in our regs.
Yeah.
That's understood?
Understood. Additional would
One
have to
thing,
go.
we already asked for signage before, and we gave them a template as well as the sizing we paid for. It's been approved before, but if we have to do the gable front, then it will change up a little bit.
Okay, you're talking about the signage on the building.
Correct. So we
Okay.
the
I was
current.
speaking about if you wanted something out like Dollar General has out on the curbage
Oh,
area
no,
away
no,
from.
we don't need that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other
Anything
comments?
outstanding on the list, Mike?
Nothing outstanding unless there's anything that you think needs to be modified or amended or.
Well, the only thing uh, it, on the list, they've dealt with a number of items. The applicant has dealt with a number of the items that were on there. I guess the one thing that I think what'd you call it? I can't remember what you called it. They motor vehicle hulks that and turning them
Yep.
into a single one, units that aren't running for parts or whatever.
Yep.
I can see that as a potential stipulation in there.
Yeah, so,
just so
I mean,
it's clear, Mike, you were saying that any motor vehicle parts or inoperable cars can't be stored outside the building. They would have to be inside the building, right?
correct.
Okay.
Correct.
That is
Okay.
fine.
Yeah.
That's how we will be because we need to sell cars, not make a junkyard out there.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else from the commissioners? Anything else from the applicant at this point?
No, we have nothing else to offer. Just responses if there's still additional questions or comments.
Oh, what happened to my sign?
Oh, there you go. Hi, Janet. Yes.
I tried to raise my hand, but it disappeared.
It looked like clapping hands going
I
up
did
like
see some
this.
clapping hands.
I thought you were happy.
Maybe I did the wrong one. I just wanted to, I'm a little confused where we are, but I just wanted to say that I would agree with all of the lists that Mike had read off, including the no chain link fence and amending the roof line. And I was just wanted to make sure that's where we are.
I agree.
Okay.
I think the only thing with the chain link fence was without commission review.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you.
Anyone else? So unless there's anything outstanding for our discussion,
Jeff.
or anything required, I'm looking for a motion to close the hearing.
Hey, Jeff.
Yes, sir.
So I just want to read this because I want to make sure that it's clear that everybody is sort of on the same page as what it means as far as having the applicant make those adjustments, unless we all want to turn our architect hats on. The language that I put in there is that the front elevation of the building shall be modified to include additional facade elements as discussed during the public hearing.
Okay.
Does that seem clear to everybody? I think we've got audio and video recording of what the discussion was, but I want to be
Writing
somewhat.
it down. Yeah.
So is that, I mean, I think we're on both sides. If the commission members applicant are concerned that they don't know what that means, now's the time. Otherwise, that to me is that's what I'm able to come up with at this moment to sort of capture the discussion.
I think we understand what it means after the discussion we just had.
Commission, any issues?
No.
I think you're good, Mike.
Well, if there's no other questions, we have no further comments to make, and we thank you very much for your time in reviewing this and discussing this application with us.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for the feedback. Thank you for all the efforts, both for you and your client. So we're looking to have a motion to
Motion to
close
close.
the hearing. I'm sorry, Jerry?
Motion to close.
Jerry closes. Is there a second?
Janet, second.
Janet. All those in favor of closing the public hearing regarding 221 Pompey Hollow Road, special permit, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Thank you again. All right. That leads us to commission business on PZC 26-1, special permit and site plan application per 300-18C 6 and 7 for a motor vehicle dealership and repair shop at 221 Pompey Hollow Road. Owner Bora 2020 LLC. And time for discussion. So don't have any input, any discussion, any points you wish to make? Nord, you're off mute. You want to say something?
Yeah. I want to side with Paul Varga, and I think he brought out some good points of why they should be approved. So I'm gonna say I'm on his side.
Okay, just realize we're not taking a vote yet. We are just simply having a discussion.
Well, I'm just endorsing that.
Okay. Anyone else? I'm the one on cold medicine, so come on, guys. Uh, uh, I think the applicant made a number of strong efforts. I think the fact that they retained counsel for better interpretation of our regs. I think that the engineer that they hired did a number of the things that were lacking from the last time around. Uh, I put down some notes here of, the drainage and stormwater, the riprap and the septic system. Again, as some comments that were made, a leach field is not required. The fact that it's hard for a regular person to get down and fill out a septic system doesn't mean it's not, difficult for the people who do it all the time. Uh, the renderings were not black, which was great. Were of a color that fell into the kind of the color scheme we see on both sides of that business. Uh, uh, though we didn't do a complete traffic study request, and there is a traffic study that was available from the Dollar General from a few years ago, uh, which I think Dory is very well familiar with. Um, that, yeah, I was a little put out that some of the public comment had it at 127, which is an absolutely ridiculous number, especially if you look at the ITE, and I think if it were a restaurant or a nail salon, and none of those approach 127 trips like that. So, and I believe in the ITE itself, it says something to the effect of 6 to 10, possibly. So they went on the high side with that. Uh, and again, it was signed. That was dealt with. The butters were contacted, as Dory mentioned early on. Uh, and the fact that they are willing to indicate, and I know this came up for a number of the public comments, that no fence would be required. They would, the statement has been no fence. I think we're giving them actually some leeway on that they could propose something should security become a problem or whatever, and it would have to go through commission review. And the fact that now we've reached an understanding on the roof that there's potentially some effort to be made in making that fit in to our New England Village District design, whatever you want to call it. Those are my points. Oh, and the non-conforming, as Mike said, uh, it's not becoming more non-conforming, which would be against our regs. It's simply still non-conforming with its setback to the road and to the side setback slightly short. Those are my comments. Anyone else? I got all night, people. Michael, I couldn't quite hear you. Maybe he's not talking to us. Uh, and I think the idea that Dory brought home over and over again is the fact that it is an approved use. It is an approved use in the special permit area. The fact that people have concerns. I really think a lot of the concerns were dealt with when it came to, as Daniel said, cars are parked in driveways all over the town, in businesses, in all the other places, and uh, the likelihood of all of these cars sitting there and just leaking and dripping toxic chemicals and things like that, I think is hyperbole. I think it's something that is not uh, in the realm of what really takes place at these places and what type of cars are going to be there. Uh,
I'll,
okay.
I'll
Janet, thank you. Save me, Janet. Say something.
can't leave you to your just to yourself. I think the applicant has heard a lot of concerns from people in town about POC meeting the goals of our POCD for our rural New England community, and I would hope that they would be cognizant that this is the gateway to our town, and that they would maintain the area, as neatly and cleanly as possible, and make us proud of it, rather than have it look like something that we wish wasn't there. So I appreciate the efforts that they've made, and their flexibility. So thank you.
Thank you. To your point, I mean, we did approve bringing in Central Transport, excuse me, that took over the old Rogerson Masonry area. And the concern was how long they would be keeping cars there and things like that. And, they did, in that case, they did put up a facade. I mean, maybe the chain link gate could be a little more blocked off, but for the most part, I'd say it's 90% behind closed doors. It's not sitting out there except for that one trailer that we had sitting there for a while until, an intrepid chairman went to go talk to them about it. Uh, so, again, I thought, again, not to quote Dory all night, but this can happen anywhere. And our real situation, if we're concerned about blight and things like that, then that's the selectman's office. That's under their realm to work on the ordinance for that and cover that for all of Ashford, not just those that are blighted areas, such as across from the fire station or the scrap metal collection across from the transfer station or anything like that. It's for all of Ashford, uh, but it does fall in their realm, not PZC. It's not a consideration for us, down the road that way. We would assume they are going to be good tenants, good owners, good town partners in wanting to move here and wanting to do business here. You have to assume that. Any other comment? Oops, Steve.
Yeah, so I really appreciate all this discussion and especially the work to pull us into carefully considering what is and what is not our remit um, in this. I'm wondering what the next steps can be because maybe you said you have all night, but I don't. And apparently there is a Sekar Road cold going around, and so I would also like to wrap things up.
Yeah, I know. I need to get to it too. Okay. So, if there's no other comments and there's no other activities to be shared, Mike has captured what would be in our motion. Uh, so I would need someone to basically the first part of that motion uh, uh, seek approval of the application for the special permit and site plan for 221 Pompey Hollow Road. Mike has captured the certain conditions that would be under there. Uh,
So moved.
well, that was quick. So Jerry has motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll
I'll
second that.
second.
Second.
Was that Stephanie?
Yes, that was me.
Okay, Stephanie, thank you. Second. All those in favor of approving the permit and site plan as indicated under these conditions that Mike has captured and that Caspian will capture in our minutes, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed?
Nay,
Hey, Mark Schnubel.
Janet.
And
No.
Janet Bellamy and Mark Schnubel. Okay, motion passes. What's that be? 7-2. Any abstentions? I'm sorry. No abstentions. Motion passes 7-2. The applicant's application has been approved.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on to the last item so we can, both Steve and I can get our meds. Zoning amendment requirements by SSA 25-1. Five of the members of the commission attended the Connecticut Federation of Land Use, whatever the federation, I guess. And part of the meal, which is very good, and the people who do sit with, people from Weston, who some reason thought that their $1.2 million homes on average were the same thing as Ashford, were a little sorely mistaken on that. But we talked to them. We had good talk. He's been texting me about all this stuff anyways. So he was really surprised an average home on the lake was somewhere between 3 and 400,000, where he had delusions of grandeur for Ashford. Anyways, they had to pull him off of me in order for us to drive home that night. But the speaker was, is it Delia, Mike, from NECOG?
Yes, Delia Fay.
Yes. She's the NECOG representative, and she spoke on the requirements for HB 8005 2
Two.
8002.
Yep.
And I think Mike can go over a few of the things on it too, which he's going to touch upon here as quickly as possible, and I stop talking. Uh, but a lot of it part of the contingencies are, do you want to go on your own, or do you want to work through the your COG that you're assigned to, your Council of Governors? So, Mike, with that, do you want to touch upon some stuff?
So actually what I have just sort of on my radar as the first step is the amendments that are going to be required for summary review. So I think I mentioned in the last meeting, as of July 1st, we are going to be required to permit 2 to 9 units of residential on any lot zoned for commercial or mixed use. So if the Dollar General closed on July 1st, July 2nd, they could show up and say, we want to put 8 apartments in there, and we have to allow it as a by right, no public hearing, no special permit use. That's statewide. You can't opt out. So I'm working on some suggested amendments, and we will have a discussion and have to really dig in on that in May so that we can refer it and get it scheduled for a hearing in June, unless we want to do special meetings. But I just wanted to kind of keep that on the commission's radar.
And that would be the same thing if Cattle Rock got identified for mixed use.
So
Yeah, it's for on any lot zone, commercial or mixed use. The key is the cap is 9 units. So Cattle Rock, yes, would fall into that, but they would only be allowed 9. So, you could have,
Well, you could have more there. We would just qualify, wouldn't we?
they could have more there, but we would not have to allow it by right. So they would go through the traditional review process.
Okay. All right. The by right. Okay.
So I'm working on, as I said, some amendments and taking a similar approach to kind of the direction we're headed in a bunch of adjacent towns in looking at things from a more form-based perspective so that we can have better control over what things look like, since we know they have to be permitted by right, and we can't have, the dialogue that the commission just had with the applicant here and saying, well, can you do this? Well, what about that? Right? That whole piece comes off the table. We need to have a prescriptive set of regs that's, you must do this. It has to be this way, lighting, landscaping, etc. So I'm working on that stuff, and we'll have that to you ahead of the May meeting.
Okay. All right. Great. Anything else?
That is the long and long of it.
The long and the long of it. Okay. How about the zoning officer report?
That's, I mean, really, the focus has been on getting those regs squared away. I've been still working on the zoning map so that we have something that we can run in tandem with the hearing for the POCD to fix that conflict that we talked about a couple of months ago. So it's just going through the nitty gritty, just legal descriptions of each parcel has just kind of been a slog. But the hope is again to have that so that it can be effective in July when we have the hearing on the POCD. So yeah, I hope to have that done in the next few weeks.
And speaking of POCD, we have submitted to the town clerk as well as the Board of Selectmen and NECOG.
NECOG and Board of Selectmen was done at the end of March. Town clerk and website posting will be happening in the next week and a half. And then we'll be scheduling the legal notices. Yep.
Okay. And then once we have those coming back to us, we'll send it out to the commission for review.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Okay. Anything else, Mike?
That's it.
Jeff, I have a question about the Airbnbs, the regulations.
Oh, yeah, short-term rentals.
Yep. I now have 2 more at the lake. And the people that have the cease and desist order, there's people in there all the time.
Yep. Mike and I had a short discussion on this the other day, and we are at the point of it simply becomes legal counsel. And we need to well, Mike, I'll let you describe it.
Yeah, so the ZBA upheld my cease and desist order to both of those properties. So they found in favor of the town, if you will, and upheld my orders for those properties to cease and desist. The indications thus far by my observations and from other neighbors is that they have not stopped the activity. I reached out to the attorney that represented them during the appeal, and after some follow-ups, did hear back from her, and she indicated that she is no longer representing the property owner. But essentially, we have gone as far as we can go, as far as the commission and me as your enforcement staff. So the next step is that we will turn this over to the town attorney, and he will sort of commence the legal proceeding. That's really the only other option.
What about, I have 2 others close by me here that have started renting out their house. And one of them, just in the past 3-4 weeks, she's had at least 6 people in and out of there.
So, I mean, I would say, we'd have to look to make sure that they, didn't have something pre-existing or nothing else, but you or whomever can basically just send us the information in writing so we can start a file, and we would review it against the current regulations. And so, we're going to be up against all the same sort of issues that we ran into previously with the regulations, but if you send the information to us, we can start that process.
Yeah, we can't do anything without a complaint, and we need the complaint in order to act and to look into it and investigate.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Any other questions for Mike? Nope. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Jerry. And is there a second?
Janet, second.
Janet seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time, effort, your attention. Always appreciated. And we'll catch you in the next round. Take care.
Don't forget your medication.
Oh, God, yes.
Good night, everyone.